offer to retiring members by allowing them to preside over one of our bills. So for at least one time. So I'd ask that you all join me in welcoming to the dais Representative Sean Williams.
Thank you. Will the clerk please call the implementer?
I would, Mr. Speaker, but I don't have it yet.
I'm in charge, right? Will the clerk please call calendar number 522?
Calendar number 522, favorable report of the Joint Standing Committee on Insurance and Real Estate. Substitute Senate Bill 457, an act concerning revisions to the Common Interest Ownership Act.
Representative Albus, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's good to see you up there.
Thank you.
Aren't you a little young to be on the dais, sir?
It can happen to you too, sir.
Mr. Speaker, I move acceptance of the Joint Committee's favorable report and passage of the bill.
The question is on acceptance of Joint Committee's favorable report and passage of the bill. Representative Albus, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this bill makes minor changes to the Common Interest Ownership Act to help unit owners with their operations and association boards with their operations as well. The clerk also has an amendment. It's LCO number 4776. I'd ask that the clerk please call that amendment and I'd be allowed to summarize.
Will the clerk please call LCO 4776, which was previously designated Senate A.
Senate A, LCO 4776, introduced by Senator Doyle et al.
Representative Albus.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this amendment just makes technical changes to the way that board elections are conducted, and I do move adoption.
The question before the Chamber is on adoption of Senate Schedule A. Will you remark on the amendment? Will you remark on the amendment? Representative Rabimbus of the 70th, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good afternoon, and it's good to see you up there.
Good afternoon.
Mr. Speaker, I do rise in support of the amendment before us, and I just wanted to quickly just thank Senator Doyle, Representative Nafis, Representative Albus, and also Representative O'Neill for working on the legislation that's before us, and I do support it, and I know that Representative O'Neill is going to articulate a little bit more about the amendment that's before us. But I did want to seek this opportunity, Mr. Speaker, to personally thank you for your assistance in my ability of being elected and making it up here, but then most importantly for your guidance and friendship once I was up here. And I certainly look forward to our reunions outside this chamber. So it's a pleasure to see you up there, and thank you again for everything that you have provided, not only for the residents of obviously your district, Watertown, but the state of Connecticut.
Thank you, Madam, and the feeling is quite mutual. Representative O'Neill of the 69th, you have the floor, sir.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. That's a nice sound, doesn't it? It's a pleasure to see you there, and it's also a pleasure to see this amendment on the board and the bill as well. This is a piece of legislation which hopefully clarifies something we did last year that made it clearer about how elections and votes will be taken on budgets in condominium complexes, and in some ways this is a piece of legislation that almost has lasted as long as your career in the legislature from inception to completion. It has been an enormous pleasure to serve with you and to watch your development as a legislator during your years here with us. And I'm going to miss you greatly because I was hoping that we would spend a number of years in the future working on various things and enjoying the row back here that we share and the work that we share on the various things we do here, as well as the jokes that we share that we can't repeat now in front of everyone on camera. But thank you very much for the years you've given us, and hope to see you come back and maybe visit us often. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, sir, and there is no better gentleman in this legislature than you. You have taught me so much about process, about how to interact with individual legislators on bills, and the feeling is quite mutual as well. Thank you, sir. Will you remark further? Representative Claridis of the 114th, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So I'm used to you being behind me, not in front of me. It's throwing me off a little bit. You know, I remember the day when the former Representative Flaherty, who you announced earlier today, told us he wasn't running, and, well, who do you have? And, you know, there was this whole issue between you and possibly somebody else. And and so when it ended up being you, we're like, well, he's a kid. I mean, you know, what does he know? And as Representative Cafaro tells time and time again, you are like his fourth child. He's had more father-son talks with you than his own kids, and I've lived through that. So I'm aware of it, but I have to say that although I'm still angry, and I'll get through my anger, I guess, for you not running, you have certainly grown into a great guy, a great legislator, and a good friend.
Thank you, madam, and I feel the same way about you. I can't thank you enough for all of your friendship over the years, and the good news is we have many more years to come of friendship, so thank you. Will you remark further? Will you remark further? Representative Candelora of the 86th.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I can't think of a more exciting bill to comment on. Exactly. I want to congratulate you on your years of service here and wish you well in the future. Coming into the chamber, I hadn't served on any committees with you, and I think my first exposure to you was when there would be a committee meeting going on, and all of a sudden you'd hear an announcement, a sudden announcement of a caucus, and our minority leader running down the stairs to go into a room to deal with some kind of episode or struggle that was going on, particularly with the Energy Committee. And so I quickly was intrigued about who this representative was on our side of the aisle. And as I look around the room, I see a lot of people with gray hair. And I have a hunch that probably most of them didn't have gray hair before you came into this chamber. And I say that you know, very fondly and with the utmost respect. We talk so much about family in this chamber, and I have to say that you are one of the few individuals that has everybody's back. You're a very loyal person. You stand up for what you believe in. And when there's somebody that needs help, you're right there, up until midnight of the Sine Die. And I think it's a trait that's going to serve you well in the future. I wish you the best of luck, and we are certainly going to miss you. God bless.
Thank you, sir, and thank you for your friendship over the years. I know that you'll be doing great things for the state. I hope that you one day have to serve on the Energy Committee so you can experience the same thing that I did there. So, thank you, sir. Will you remark further? Will you remark further? Representative D'Amelio, the 71st. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise in support of the amendment before us, but more importantly, to bid you a fond farewell from this place. You know, what an achievement to be the youngest person to be elected to this beautiful establishment at the age of 21. And I remember you were the butt of a lot of our jokes in the beginning of your tenure here. I remember one afternoon we were having a caucus, and you weren't in there yet, and everybody was like, "Where's Sean?" And I remember John Fry saying, "Don't worry, he'll be here. He's finishing his paper route."
He'll be here all weekends.
You know, I gave you the nickname Hollywood because, you know, here you are, this tall, handsome guy with being single and being in this place, and, you know, you were living the Hollywood life. What could I say? But, you know, what a tremendous legislator you've become. You've become friends to mostly everyone in this place. You, both sides of the aisle respect you immensely, and that's not surprising. You have, you know, if you stayed here longer, I just could imagine where that would have taken you. But we all understand when you start in this business young, you have a great opportunity for your future, and we're so proud and happy for that. But your friendship with me will remain lifelong. I can't thank you enough for all you've done. I know the constituents back home adore you and love you. They would have voted for you. I don't think you ever were. I don't think you ever were opposed in an election because of who you are. But God bless you. All the best to you in the future, and keep it going.
Thank you, sir. And if I had to create a definition of a friend, Tony D'Amelio, you would be right there in the definition. You're such a decent and loyal person, and I'm going to miss you dearly. But the good news is we have many more years of friendship together, as I told Representative Claridis. So thank you, sir. Will you remark further, Representative Hovey of the 112th? You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise in support of you. I'm not sure about this bill yet. And I know that you are standing up there kind of starting to sweat a little bit, worrying about what I might say. But I'll just say this because I know your mom is watching CTN. She can call me and I will give her the dirt on you. As one of the women here who has been an older woman, surrogate mother, you've turned into an awesome man. Congratulations.
Thank you, Madam. As Representative Cafaro said, you wear your heart on your sleeve, and you just displayed it. I can't thank you enough for all your friendship over the years, and I look forward to many more. Will you remark further, Representative Berger of the 73rd? You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In support of the amendment before us. I just want to thank you, sir, for your service to your district and the state of Connecticut. It's been an honor and privilege to serve with you. As you know, our districts abut each other, the Bunker Hill area, obviously, into Watertown, and we have somewhat many of the issues that are important to both of our districts that affect all of our citizens. And you've always been there in support of Waterbury issues, in support of issues that obviously affect your district, and issues that affect the entire state of Connecticut. Again, you've always been thoughtful, you've listened, you've been very, very helpful. Certainly in my chairmanship of 8 years on the Commerce Committee, you've been very, very helpful, supportive in working in bipartisan legislation, and in fact that some legislation that is true to Democrats. And you've been, again, very instrumental in helping that go through. We know you're moving on to bigger and better things, but you'll always be remembered in this House as a friend on both sides of the aisle, a friend that's admired and respected. But just one thing, with some of this free time that you're not now going to have, it's hopeful that your restaurant tab at Roma's will not exceed the limits. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. And I think that if I were to tell somebody, and it was a freshman in our caucus, about building a relationship with somebody on the other side of the aisle or from a city, I would certainly reference our relationship. It's been a pleasure to work with you, and look forward to many more years of good things to come from you as well. Thank you, sir. Will you remark further, Representative Sawyer of the 55th? You have the floor.
Good afternoon, Mr. Speaker. One of the things I learned the other day at my visit to where you are right now was, when they talk on the phone up there, one of the things I learned was that they said, is the next bill, is it clean? I had no idea what that meant. So I asked, and it meant, does it have an amendment on it or not? So it's clean if it has no amendment on it. So, Mr. Speaker, you got one that's not so clean. But it is a great amendment, and I'm just going to say that so I can stand for just a moment more and say thank you so much for your service. As some of us know, when he's got something to say, he's not shy about saying it. He can give you a clear and concise description of what's in the bill. He can narrow it down to plain speak so you know what's going on. And certainly with some of the energy issues, that was more than essential. But he also has been known to take on some of the tougher issues, take on some of the tougher committees, certainly Finance, Revenue, and Bonding, where you have been an outstanding ranking member. I came on as a freshman this term. It was a new learning curve, and I just wanted to thank you, sir, for all of your help on all those committees. And my friendship to you, sir.
Thank you, Madam, and thank you for being such an effective den mother to not just myself, but to so many in our caucus. You've helped to guide us and temper us every once in a while when we needed to be tempered, and some of us need that, so thank you very much. Will you remark further, Representative Kupchik of the 132nd? You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. While we haven't served for the whole time of your term, just 4 years, I have to say I really appreciate your friendship, as many people in this chamber today spoke about what a good friend you are. And you were a good friend to me, Sean. Coming and helping me out when I needed help or didn't understand the process, and taking the time to really be there to have my back. And I'm hearing that today, that you had a lot of people's back. And I wish you were going to stay, but I do appreciate your friendship and your loyalty. Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Madam, and that may be the one thing I would hope somebody said about me, is that I had people's backs, so I appreciate that you recognize that, and others have as well. Will you remark further, Representative Davis, on the 57th?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I stand in great support of this amendment, and that's all I have to say. So, no, that's not true.
Thank you, sir.
I stand here as well to thank you personally. I would not be here today without you. I think that's definitely clear. You're one of my best friends, both here and outside the chamber. And sorry, getting a little choked up about it, but and hate to do that to you. But what I have achieved here and what I will achieve here is because of you, and you just mean the world to me. And I look forward to continuing our friendship outside of our service here. So, thanks again, Representative Williams.
Thank you, sir, and you have an incredibly bright future here, as everyone who sits in this chamber knows, and I look forward to watching all the great things to come for you. So, thank you so much. Will you remark further, Representative Zupkis of the 89th? You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise in support of this amendment, but I also rise in support of you. I always knew I would see you standing up there. And I, too, like Representative Davis, because of you, am here. And I thank you for your mentorship, your encouragement for a long time, your wisdom, your knowledge, and all the things. Even though you're a lot younger than I am, I look up to you and for all the things that I have learned from you and will carry through as I'm here. So thank you.
Thank you, Madam, and it took us a long time to get you here, but I'm so thrilled that you are, and the people of the state of Connecticut are better off as a result. So thank you for your kind words. Will you remark further? My colleague from the town of Woodbury, Representative Minor of the 66th. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We're just so everyone's clear. I live in Litchfield, not Woodbury, but that's all right. People still think I'm 66 now because of my other good friend, Representative Claridis. I rise in support of the amendment, I hope, and I wanted to say that, Sean, over these many years that we've served together, you've been very helpful to me, especially in the southern part of the district. For those that you don't know, the 66th district goes from Warren all the way down to Woodbury, and not like it's 100 miles, but it is a bit different. And I think the connection that you have in Watertown, Oakville, Waterbury, greater Waterbury area, has helped me serve the people of Woodbury better. I was having a conversation with one of our colleagues here, someone who's been, I would say, an institution on the Finance Committee, having never held an office in the legislature. I think she commands a lot of respect in this building, about not only you, but Representative Candelora and myself, and kind of brought us to Larry Cafaro. And she was telling me a story about having gone to visit Larry after I was his choice to serve on finance, and then visiting Larry again after I was taken out of finance and Representative Candelora was put in. And I'm not sure if she visited when you showed up, but as I understand it, she's been back a couple of times since you've been there. And she didn't disclose to me exactly what that reason was. I have no doubt that your future is bright. Certainly your work here in the legislature on behalf of industry, on behalf of the people that you serve, will be remembered. I know that when I am in Woodbury, more often than not, someone has wonderful things to say about your work here. I think you do represent many people, Republicans, Democrats, and independents, in your thinking, and I wish you a very bright future.
Thank you, sir. And that individual from the Finance Committee is far wiser than I, so I assume that those meetings with Representative Cafaro were productive and helpful in the cause. And to you, sir, I can think of no more thoughtful colleague to serve with on issues that are of import, not just to the town that we share, but to the people of the state of Connecticut as well. You lack some of the things that are bad in politics, right? You lack all the hysteria and all the partisanship, and you really excel at the substance, and you've become a subject matter expert in anything that you do, and that's why everyone here looks to you for guidance and wisdom on issues, especially in our caucus. So thank you for providing that to me over the years. Will you remark further on the bill? Representative Widlitz of the 98th.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise in support of the amendment also. But you know, Mr. Speaker, it's getting so friendly here. I have to be honest, it scares the hell out of me to see you up at that podium. And already, if you notice, my nonpartisan staff of the Finance Committee has already moved to the other side of the aisle in your honor. But Sean, it's been a lot of fun working with you, except when I'm driving home and I hear this voice on the radio with all of the wisdom. I'm wondering, was he at the same meeting that I was just at? But I think that's probably come to an end. But we've had a great time together. I knew we would be buddies as soon as you were a Sopranos fan and a House of Cards fan. And my son-in-law is an actor in those series, and so Sean was really taken with that. So that made me coast a little while as a new chair of the Finance Committee, because that was kind of fun to share. And you've been a great partner and friend in the Finance Committee. And I was a little worried, you know, when I found out you would be the ranking member in my first term as chairing the Finance Committee, because you were kind of feisty before that on the House floor. But you've been very respectful, and I think we've worked well together to have a really nice relationship. So I do want to wish you well in your new career, but I have to tell you, if I ever see you in the cockpit of one of those airplanes, and I'm getting off. But it's been great. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Madam. And for those of you who don't know, Representative Widlitz has not seen The Sopranos or House of Cards, in which her son-in-law is. So now that you have some time on your hands, I hope that you'll watch both of those shows. They're really great shows. Representative Widlitz, you have been such a pleasure to work with. You know, we may have different personalities, but I think we have the same heart. I think our hearts are in the right place. We come at things sometimes from different perspectives, but you have been an incredible pleasure to work with. You're respectful. You're dignified in the way that you conduct yourself as the chair of the Finance Committee. It has been a real pleasure for me to actually serve with you and to be able to actually work some things out with you based on that mutual respect that we have for each other. So, great pleasure. Thank you so much for your kind words, and good luck to you as well. And watch The Sopranos. Will you remark further? Representative Nugent of the 74th.
Good afternoon, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I have the honor and the privilege to serve with many speakers before. All of them stood at the dais with a great deal of dignity and respect, including former Speaker Moira Lyons. You're standing at the dais, leaning down like this, drinking water. Have some dignity up there, Mr. Speaker. It's an honor, Sean. I have known you. It was a pleasure for me. It was a privilege to go campaign for you, work with you. I was honored to be on the polls the day that you were elected the first time, and the night that you won the election down in Watertown, and you came to this beautiful house. You were the youngest, and then I became the second youngest after you arrived. It's been an honor and a pleasure to have you as my friend. Politics come and go. Friendship stays forever. God bless you. I love you dearly.
Thank you, sir, and thank you for those kind words. You have demonstrated your ability to work across the aisle. You represent a district that is heavily dominated by Democrats, and you're able to get elected not by being partisan, but by being effective and working with people on the other side of the aisle, and that serves you well, I'm sure, for the coming years. So thank you very much for your kind words. Representative Smith of the 108th, you have the floor.
Oh, Mr. Speaker, thank you. You know, you and I have a little bit difference in age, and I'm getting used to the position of being able to advise and counsel with my practice as a lawyer, and I must say that I was quite surprised in having to deal with you and how much I have learned from you. It's not often that a young man like yourself can be as strong, as forceful, and guide other people. I came into the chamber knowing nothing. I leave, and when I leave, I will think back upon you in many ways. I will think of all the stuff that you have taught me about politics, how to get along with the other side, how to form relationships, how to not blow my top on the Labor Committee. I thank you for all of those. You've taken me aside many times, and again, I think it was kind of reversal of roles for me, and I was initially taken aback, but I must say I'm so pleased that you did. I will miss your guidance. I look forward to your words of confidence, your words of wisdom for such a, what I consider a young man. I know you will be successful. You are a true gentleman. Hard to find. God bless.
Thank you, sir, and I'll be sure to text you as I'm watching the Labor Committee on CTN in the future. I wish Representative Tersiak were here to hear that. But your thoughtfulness and patience, sometimes through tough times, is extremely admirable, and that's what gets you through those difficult situations, and I'm sure that's what will benefit you in the future. Thank you very much for your kind words. Will you remark further? Representative Cuevas of the 75th, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise in support of this amendment. Just want to tell you a quick story, Sean. 27 years ago, you know I coached for 27 years. You used to see me on the baseball, basketball courts for 27 years all over the state of Connecticut. I've touched 3, 4, 5, 10,000 lives of young kids. And I never forget, I won my election. I came here on the inauguration night, and I see your dad in the hallway, right? And I remember seeing you as a little kid playing sports. I coached against you. Your dad was the coach. I coached. And I remember you back then, and then you grew up, and then your brother came along, and your dad was still coaching, and I was coaching, and you went off to the sunset to college and had a successful career. But I did not know that you were in the legislature. So on the first night I was here, your dad's outside, and I see him with his famous cigar, right? So I said to him, I said, Mr. Williams, how are you doing? He goes, hey, Vic, how you doing? He said, congratulations on your victory. I said, thank you. I said, so are you here to see me? Seriously, right? And he goes, no, Sean's here. And I said, Sean, little Sean? He goes, yeah, he's a representative. I said, no way. I said, wow, it's true that the world comes round and round and round, right? Everywhere you go, somewhere our lives touch, and then we come back and touch together. And I'll tell you, so far, what I see you done here in the past year and a half that I've been here, I'm impressed. You're an articulate young man. God bless you. You have a great success ahead of you, and your family's great. And tell your family they're great, and that your dad did a great job. God bless you.
Thank you, sir. I'm surprised it took you this long to tell me that story, but I'm so glad you're here. And I know my dad watches more CTN than anybody I know, so I'm sure he's going to see this before I have the chance to tell him. But thank you for those kind words, and you're somebody to watch in the future here in the legislature. You're doing a great job representing your district. I know people of Waterbury feel very strongly about that, so congratulations to you, and thank you for your kind words. Representative Srinivasan of the 31st, you have the floor.
Good afternoon, Mr. Speaker. It's great to see you here. And I hope seeing you here gives us all the energy that one of us will be there for some time to come. Mr. Speaker, I rise in strong support of all that we've heard from my colleagues both sides of the aisle and endorse all that have been said about you very enthusiastically. I want to thank you for your guidance over the past 4 years. When I came into the chambers, and was one of the committees I was assigned to was finance, I was very apprehensive because that was an area that I felt I was not very comfortable with. And I still remember my conversation with you when you took me aside and said, don't worry, I am there. I am the ranking member, and I will make sure you are aware of what's going on in that committee. That was 4 years ago, Mr. Speaker, and through those 4 years, maybe I've become a little more comfortable with that committee and with all that we do there in that committee. but I know I can always count on you for your support if I am not aware of what is happening there. Your key sentence that I'll never forget when I asked you, can I ask this question? It seems so foolish. It seems so stupid. And you said, Dr. Srinivasan, you were getting used to calling me representative. So you were saying, Dr. Srinivasan, no question is stupid. Ask the question if you feel that there's a question, and I'm sure there will be somebody answering you for that. Recently, Mr. Speaker, you have taken me under your fold and have become and involved me extensively in the negotiations on important issues that are facing us here in the chamber. I want to thank you for the confidence that you have in me as to be a part of our team here representing our caucus in these various discussions and negotiations we are having. You are being my mentor, and I look across you. You're younger than my kids, and here you are, this young man, younger than my own kids, my mentor. We will always learn from each other, regardless of age, is what I was told, and you have proven that. Thank you for your support, and I will miss you.
Thank you, sir. And to have someone with your record of success in life and your level of education say that about somebody like me is incredibly humbling. You are going to do great here. You already are doing great here. You have the respect of people on both sides of the aisle, and you're actually having an impact on legislation and on the people of Connecticut. So I look up to you for that as well. Thank you, sir. Will you remark further on the amendment? Representative Ritter of the 1st, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I do rise in support of the amendment. And Sean, you're the man. You're a great guy. I appreciate all the advice you've given me. I go to bills from Harvard that you hate, that I know you'll vote against, but you have such a keen intellect and understanding of this place that your advice is very helpful to me. I remember a couple of years ago we did a talk show on a Sunday morning on Valentine's Day night. My wife just loved that. And they asked us a bunch of questions, waiting for the fist to fly, the accusations to start. And it was really nothing bad said. I think Dennis House refused to ever have us back on the show. It was the perfect example of how two people can get along despite not agreeing on issues. So our friendship is genuine. It has nothing to do with this place. It will last for a long time. I appreciate what you've done for me, and I wish you a lot of luck in the future.
Thank you, sir. It obviously was not sweeps week when they had us on Face the State, because there was no fisticuffs that day. Thank you for everything that you've done for the state of Connecticut. I've known you since before you were elected to the legislature and watched you progress. You're doing a phenomenal job here. And again, you as well will have an impact on people for years to come. And I look forward to our friendship continuing as it has in the last few years. Thank you, sir. Representative Becker of the 19th, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm undecided on this amendment, so I'm going to listen to the rest of the debate. But while I'm undecided on this amendment, I'm not undecided about you. It's been a pleasure serving with you on the Energy and Technology Committee and the Finance Committee. You're a great guy. And although I do have to say, hearing that you've had these father-son talks with Representative Cafaro, that kind of explains a lot. But seriously, you're a young man, and perhaps you'll choose to run again, hopefully to sit on our side of the aisle the next time around. And if you do, we'll welcome you back. So just want to wish you all the best of luck. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for those nice comments. You're a pleasure to serve with. You certainly ask a lot of good questions. You pay attention to the issues. You get into the issues. You don't just vote without having given good consideration to what's before you, and I have a ton of respect for you for that. Thank you, sir. Representative Hoydick of the 120th. You have the floor, madam.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's wonderful to see you there. I rise in support of this amendment, and I also rise in support of you. I think we've heard that often. And as we've had the friendship develop over the last 4 years, I'm going to tell you a couple things. First, speak more into that microphone, which I never thought I would have to tell you. And second of all, if you change parties, we will kill you. You and I have a lot in common. We are both special election winners, and that was our first connection. The second one was when I sat with you through an evening-long debate on energy, and little did I know that as you were talking and debating and going through, I think it might have been 100-page documents, which are typical of energy, You were leading me down the path to take your place as ranking member. So you were slick then, you're slick now, and we still love you. You taught us a lot of great lessons, especially me. You taught me how lobbyists are our friends, which is a little ironic since now you are one on a national level. But the reasoning behind that was that they had a semblance of knowledge that we wouldn't have just from the vacuum of this chamber and just from the staff that we have working at the Capitol, so I thank you for that as well. When I became ranking, thank God Larry gave me you and Penny to help with that first 2 years, especially when the co-chairs tried to limit our debate during committee meetings, and you two rallied around and got the troops, and as Larry said, fired them up. Light up the board, and we kept that debate going forever. So, Sean, it's been a great 4 years sitting next to you. You are a mentor, as Doc said. It's hard to believe but thank God my kids aren't as old as you, so I can I can take a little relief in that. But your compassion, always the time. You put things down to listen to somebody. It doesn't matter if it has to be Republicans, Democrats, too. Anybody who needs your help, you've always been there. And you've just really set a great example. You've learned from Larry, and since this last job that you've had, you've grown so much, and it's been a pleasure to watch. And I'm going to take your words and say, you're freaking awesome. Thank you.
That was freaking, right? Thank you, Madam. And thank you so much for your friendship over the years. Sitting next to you can be a very calming influence on me as well. You are a very loyal friend, a very decent person. You're serving your district honorably. Representative Bakayaki and I may have given you a little boost when you were the ranking member on the Energy Committee in your first term, but you have done a marvelous job ever since then. You have respect on both sides of the aisle, and I'm envious of the fact that you'll be here for many years to come and continuing to do such a good job. So thank you. Will you remark further on the amendment? Representative Butler of the 72nd, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I'm closing out the comments from the Waterbury delegation. I think it's only appropriate because when I first saw you, it was in Waterbury, and being on the Board of Aldermen, traveling around political circles, I'd come to see you from time to time, and I was saying, well, who's that young guy? I've seen him, a few different occasions, and somebody said, well, that's Sean Williams. He's running for state representative. I said, state representative? He's a little young to be running for a state representative, isn't he? They said, yeah, but he is. I said, well, what district? And they said, the 68th. I said, well, that's not in Waterbury. They said, of course it's not. It's in Watertown. And I just said, phew. Because I was hoping to become a state representative someday, and I said, I don't want this young guy to be in a seat that I'll never be able to get into before he retires. But at any rate, I just wanted to wish you the best, Sean. You've always been around Waterbury, working on a lot of issues, both there and here. It's been a pleasure working with you. I wish you the best. And we're going to just make you an honorary member of the Waterbury delegation. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, and thank you for your dedication to Waterbury. We certainly share a lot of the same interests. Me being from Greater Waterbury, I've always believed that so go the cities, so go the towns, and your passion for your city is incredible to watch, and it's been a pleasure to work with you. I know you'll continue to have that same passion for many years to come, and the citizens of Waterbury will benefit from it. So thank you very much. Will you remark further? Representative Yacarino of the 87th. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I support this amendment, but also I support you. I've been here for almost 4 years, and I've got to know you so well. And at home, I'm used to mentoring people or giving advice. My children are only a few years younger than you. But being here for the first night of session, almost 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago, you would give me such sound advice. And I'd be apprehensive many times about getting up to speak or about a policy. And you, over 20 years younger than me, would give me sound advice, and it was comforting. And I consider you such a good friend. It's such a pleasure getting to know you, and I'm going to hopefully continue to have a relationship with all of us in the future. But you're just a great guy and very fortunate. And I think it has a lot to do with just the chamber itself and Larry as a leader. but it's a pleasure and it's an honor. And I wish you the best of luck. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, and thank you for your comments. You've come a long way. You're doing a phenomenal job for the people of North Haven. You're engaged in the issues that you care about, and I appreciate your kind words. Will you remark further on the amendment? Representative Leggett of the 17th, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's a privilege to rise and speak to you this afternoon. I have two things I'd like to say to you. One, I never generated so much respect for somebody so quickly as in my first term, when just about this very same time in the session, you went the whole evening toe-to-toe with Representative Nardello on an energy bill, while the rest of us were able to take power naps 1, 2, 4, 7, 8, 10, and Sean was there, question after question. That amazed me, sir, and I generated so much respect for you. The other thing I want to tell you is that right from day one, when I got here, I couldn't get over your voice. And not that you don't have opportunities ahead of you, but if there's ever a little window where you're not sure what to do, you could be the next Joe Scarborough, mister. I appreciate that. Thank you for everything.
Thank you, sir, for your thoughtfulness in representing your district, and I really appreciate your kind words. You're doing great, and I look forward to watching you for many years to come. Will you remark further on the amendment? Representative Bakayaki of the 52nd, you have the floor.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just want to also add my comments of how proud I am to have known you here in the chamber. Our 11-year friendship has meant a lot to me. I've enjoyed your time and your friendship both here in the building and outside of this building. And I realized a couple years ago that the time had passed for me to ask you if you had a note from your parents to stay out past midnight. I realized one day when I looked down that that line was no longer appropriate, that you are now a man in your own right.
Madam, are you speaking to Senate A?
Absolutely. This is all about Senate A. Representative Williams, you have made such a mark on so many of us here, and we wish you well.
Thank you, Madam. And as quasi-classmates, I came in a year after you did in a special election, but we've been together a long time, and we've been through a lot together, and I'm a better person for having worked with you, and look forward to many good things from you to come in the coming years. So thank you. Will you remark further on the amendment?
Mr. Speaker, I rise to call the question of whether Representative Cafaro or I was going to go first. That was my question. I think it's quite fitting that I let Larry go at the end, so there really is no question. And of course, I'm rising to speak on Senate Amendment A. Sean, two people influenced me very much when I first came here and offered me advice, and it really was the opposite side of the spectrum. It was Senator Billy Ciotto, and it was you. And we had mutual friends, even though from different sides of the aisle, so I immediately was intrigued and wanted to figure out what gives. How was, you know, this guy from Watertown, friends with all my buds in Waterbury, the labor movement and other folks. And I just had to figure it out, so I spent some time talking to you. And there was many times that I would come over to that side of the aisle and sit in the chair next to you, and we'd sit and chit-chat. And I remember one day your exact words to me. Joe, just remember, this building's temporary. Don't let it change who you are. You know who your friends are, and you know how to act. You're going to be moving up the ladder maybe someday. Just stay true. Work with us over here, and we'll have great relationships, Sean. That was your exact words. I remember it to this day. Now that I'm in this particular position, I hope I've listened well. I hope you look over here with a little sense of pride, because if you didn't know it, you're the one that helped me act the way I do over here. And I'll be forever grateful for that. But I'm also kind of grateful that you're leaving, Sean, because Sean, really, because a couple of debates, I knew Larry was talking about going, and I said, oh, all right, at least the 2 years over here, I'll have a little easier time. I don't have to follow him all the time. And then last year, you're standing up and you're doing the forget about it and the hand like this, and I'm like, oh, here we go, stage 2. So seeing you go, although sad, and I'll miss you, my friend, and I'm going to see you around, and I hope still you'll offer me advice. Your mentor, Representative Cafaro, taught you well, and I'm just glad I'm not facing round 2 of Larry. But I'll miss you, and I hope to spend more time with you away from here.
Thank you, sir. And I do remember those conversations that we had. And, you know, part of your success, a large part of your success is that you're a real guy and you've never changed. You're a real person. You've always been real. You've always been authentic with people. I believe there's no substitute for authentic communication. And you're somebody who looks the person you're talking to in the eye, who listens to what they say, who processes what they're talking about, and who cares about what they think. And so it's a great pleasure for me to be your friend. Forget about being a colleague. To be your friend is a great honor for me. So thank you, sir. Will you remark further? Will you remark further? If not... One of our deputy speakers who's sitting here said he's always wanted to do that. Representative Cafaro, you have the floor, sir.
Mr. Speaker, I don't think I care for your tone.
That's not the first time you said that to me.
It sure isn't. You know, I've talked to a lot of teachers of grade school kids, and they always tell the story about how unfair it is for some kids who are in a certain classroom who might be taller than the rest of the kids. And they say as a teacher, as much as they try to steel against it, because a child might be physically bigger than the other kids in the class, they have higher expectations of that child. And it's not fair because they still are, whether it's 9 years old in a class of 9-year-olds or whatever, they're a 9-year-old kid. And yet because of their physical presence and their height, sometimes even the best of teachers can't help but have a higher expectation of them. Mr. Speaker, you came into this chamber as a 21-year-old young man. You had a deep baritone voice. You were very confident in your walk. Some said you had a swagger. And because of your maturity, your presence, and your wisdom, which was well beyond your years, people had certain impressions of you. And I would always say to people, as good as he is, and he's good, he's still a 21-year-old kid. He had more in common with some of the younger members of the staff and the interns than he did with old fuddy-duddies like myself and others. And yet, you have performed magnificently. Yes, I agree. Sean was my fourth child. I believe it was opening day. Both his parents were here, and I grabbed them and I hugged them both, and I said, we raised them well, didn't we? I think of all those learning experiences, those father-son chats, the good times, the laughs. But most importantly, and as corny as it sounds, I remember watching you grow and how you excelled in committee, excelled on the floor of the House, excelled in caucus, excelled with your relationships on both sides of the aisle, how you got things done, how you, as has been said so many times, were a mentor to people twice your age. And as this pseudo-father, whatever, my buttons burst, my heart swelled with pride. Obviously, you and I talked long and hard about the opportunity you were presented, and I was so thrilled and proud for you, and I know how well you're doing and how well you're going to do, and it's just the beginning, Sean. There is nothing you cannot do. You are going to have a long, long, wonderful career. You are going to do so many remarkable things. And I get to say, when all the hair is gone, half of which you caused to leave my head, when I'm on Golden Pond in some rocker, I'm going to say, I knew him when. I love you, buddy. I'm so damn proud of you. Good luck to you.
Thank you, sir. What else can I say than what's been said before about you? You are undoubtedly the best teacher, mentor, and friend. And I think, combining all three of those together is something that is extremely rare in this world, to have somebody who's all three of those things. We've had a lot of laughs together, a lot of laughs. We've had a lot of talks, and they've been incredibly productive to me in making me a better person and a better legislator, most importantly a better person. Everything that was said about me here today was so appreciated. I appreciate everything everybody said, but it's so much a result and a product of what you did with me, and so for that I will be forever grateful to you. Will you remark further on the bill, on the amendment? Will you remark further on the amendment? If not, I'll try your minds. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. The ayes have it.